The first book I want to discuss is Gender Queer by Maya Kababe. The next one I want to discuss is The Bluest Eye. The Everybody Book by Rachel.
And these are books that aren't coming out of a vacuum. These are the books that we are talking about the most in this country right now.
The Bluest Eye does have scenes of rape, it has scenes of incest, it has scenes.
And I'm vehemently against banning books, even if you deem them inappropriate for children.
See, book banning has always been a tool of control, not one of safety. The Nazis banned books. The Soviet Union banned books.
Looking over a list of banned books.
Against banning books.
To me, that we are discussing banning books in a library and so forth.
Actual book banning, regardless of what you call it.
Nobody's truly about banning books. That's the road y'all have forced us to go down.
That I was to ban books. It was not my idea. It was per her policy.
Our deal wasn't banning books. Our deal was put sexually explicit material in a separate room.
Welcome, everybody. There's a lot of you here. We're glad all of you are here. Quick show of hands. We're going to get into just item number 1, public address. Give me an idea. Raise your hand if you're planning to address the board so I can kind of anticipate. Okay, perfect. Everybody is invited to do so. Okay, so with that, we're just going to circle from here to here and go that route. So, if you wouldn't mind, whoever would like to go first, looking this way. Tell us who you are. If you'll stand, please tell us who you are. And we'll start your time.
Can we start with somebody else?
Absolutely. Y'all, whoever would like to go first. That's great. Please.
Okay, Christy Mitchell, Amarillo. Basically, there's not a whole lot to say. Y'all are adults. Y'all should all know. Whether it be straight, gay, lesbian, trans, or whatever, it's not cool to have a book in the library that a child has access to if they wander off from a parent that shows a small child doing bad things to another small child. Lock them up, put them in a department to where our children can't wander off and go find a cartoon that shows another little boy sucking another little boy's pee-pee. I'm not okay with that. It doesn't matter if you believe in God or not. I'm not coming to you on a religious level right now. I'm coming to you on a scientific level that is not okay. That's not okay for a little boy to see that, whether he sees it accidentally or not. I have brought up several things, put signs on public libraries, saying there is adult content in here, keep control of your kid. You know, there are things that we can do as a community to protect our children. I'm wanting to protect your children, are y'all? I mean, simple question. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, I need help. I'm out here protecting your children, your sweet, innocent babies. That's what I'm doing. And I need your help to do that, because I'm not going to have another child molested, raped, killed. I'm not going to have it. And if y'all are not on board, we're going to do it ourselves, because there's a movement that is coming in Amarillo, and y'all get ready for it, because I'm telling you, our kids don't even see this crap. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just didn't want to start yelling at you guys. I don't want my voice to project too much, so like I'm trying to be careful about it. Okay, normal voice. So I'm going to dive into the different books and why I believe that they're important and why I believe they should stay in the library. The first book I want to discuss is Gender Queer by Maya Kababe. This book is a personal story about finding out about gender identity and being non-binary. It's honest, and for a lot of young people, it can make them feel less alone. And that is really needed within our communities and for our youth, because being alone is the worst feeling in the world, and feeling like you're the only person that ever experiences anything, that sucks. It also helps other people understand what that journey is like. And taking it away from our library doesn't keep anyone safe. It just keeps people in the dark about real world experiences that are already within our world and a part of how we interact with people. The next one I want to discuss is The Bluest Eye. This, it does deal with hard stuff, but it does it in a way that people think about it and they reflect about it. It's not a book for little kids, which is why it's in the adult section. Kids are not exposed to this book, they're in the adult section. Banning it erases important conversations about race, identity, and those are conversations we need to have person to person. The Everybody book by Rachel E. Sendman. This is meant for kids to understand their bodies, gender, and different kinds of families. It's not graphic. It's honest. It's inclusive. Families, LGBT kids deserve to see themselves in books, and other kids benefit from learning that not everyone is the same. This understanding builds kindness and respect early on, and it also, when we learn about our bodies and we learn about the real terminology for our bodies and those body parts, we are avoiding continued harm to children. I know that from personal experience. When you know this terminology, then you can further speak out about it and get help from a trusted adult. So I believe keeping these books within our library is best for the community, and no individual belief should keep a book from being able to be read. Thank you for your time. My name is Madison Boyle.
My name is Dr. Steve Urban. I'm a retired internal medicine physician. I was the first distinguished internal medicine professor at Texas Tech. And I'm here to speak against banning books. I'm going to speak specifically about The Bluest Eye. At Texas Tech, we had several symposia about human sex trafficking. We talked about sexual abuse. We talked about rape. We talked about the same subjects that Toni Morrison talks about in her book, The Bluest Eye. These are definite problems in our community and in our world. And to cover up our eyes and to pretend that these things don't exist is not the proper way to deal with them, in my opinion. Okay? We have to acknowledge, we have to recognize, and we have to deal with these things. They're terrible. The book, The Bluest Eye, does have scenes of rape, it has scenes of incest, it has scenes that are very difficult to endure, but they're important to keep open for people to read and to understand. Toni Morrison, of course, is one of our most revered authors, and to think about extirpating her book from the library is an amazing thought. I just can't imagine that we would ban Toni Morrison from our library. I don't know that much about the two other books that were for children, but I'll just say this: in the medical community, our approach is to be open and fair with all of our patients. I happen to be straight, but I've had many gay and trans patients, some trans patients and many gay patients. I always try to treat them with respect, openness. I listen to what they have to say. So if we have children like that in our school system, which we do, okay, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, I think it's the only fair thing to treat them respectfully, open our libraries and our minds to their issues. That's all I have to say.
I started this process about a year ago. I asked the library director to separate all sexually explicit material into a separate room marked 18 and above, and to give us transparency on who was bringing these books in and what age they were putting them in the library for. Then I was informed by the library board that I was to ban books. It was not my idea. It was per her policy. So then I went and I asked citizens to go look at these books. I intentionally picked a child's book, a teenager's book, and an adult book for the reasons of the fact that all I asked for them to do was to separate the material in a separate room marked 18 and above so that all citizens could be represented in our public libraries. So after I banned those books, like they asked me to, then it went through a process where the library director picked 5 people that worked for the library and sent me a letter saying that those books were okay for the library, and then I appealed it, and now we're here today. If y'all decide to go ahead and keep these books, that is up to you, but I will appeal the decision. It will go to the council, and it may be only 3 books that they get rid of. Thank you. I will appeal the decision. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols.
Yeah, it's Derek Porterfield's. And I have to reference notes. I'm just not as good at riffing as everyone else. So I'm going to begin with a passage from the Bible. It goes, "The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, 'Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him, so we can preserve our family line through our father.' So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up." That's just a bit of Genesis 19, the story of Lot and his daughters. And now, clever biblical scholars will tell you that this is an ideological myth. It's making a joke about the origins of the Moabites and the Ammonites, claiming that they were all inbred. But it's taught in churches. It's from a book that is more widely available than any other book in the world. It's one around which many would like for us to shape our laws and our cultural morality. So we know that this isn't actually a conversation surrounding disturbing stories and their availability to children. Not so long as the Bible is within their reach. Rather, this is about deciding which disturbing stories that we approve of and setting our metric around the wills and the wishes of the disturbed. We're not banning violent stories. We're not banning heterosexual stories. We're really just talking about banning queer stories. You see, book banning has always been a tool of control, not one of safety. The Nazis banned books. The Soviet Union banned books. The Catholic Church even kept an official list of banned books for almost 400 years. And in each of these cases, the goal was to stop people from thinking critically and independently. We are not protecting kids by banning books. We are protecting scared parents from their own discomfort. But here's the thing. Parenting is supposed to be uncomfortable. It requires of us conversation, compassion, and perhaps above all else, a fostering of creativity and curiosity. Books do not raise our kids. We do. The danger isn't in libraries, but it is in our own absence as parents. If you ban a book today because it mentions queerness, do not be surprised when someone bans your book tomorrow because it mentions God. Or I guess, if it talks about 2 daughters sleeping with their dad for an Israeli punchline about incest. This isn't about books, it is about fear. And fear has no place in a public library. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matthew Harrison. Pardon, I'm not a natural public speaker, so sorry if I'm a little bit shaky on my feet. But I wanted to start by thanking y'all on the library board for all of the work that you do, because this is thankless work. It's hard. And this is a moment in America where it feels like the hardest thing for us to do is to talk to each other. We're really, I don't know, I grew up in libraries. My mom gives her life to the library, and it feels like a place where all sorts of different ideas are represented. There is an illustrated edition of Mein Kampf in the Amarillo Public Library. The Communist Manifesto is in there. If we are worried that reading a book causes a problem, then surely we should start with murder, or mass murder, or genocide. That fundamentally, as a teacher, I teach things that I disagree with all the time. That's part of the job. As a parent, I describe ideas that I disagree with all the time. That's part of the job. Because one of the things that I know is that at the end of the day, when somebody faces a hard moral choice, I'm not going to be there. And that what I need is not that for them to be free from violence, not for them to have never encountered the idea, but for them to know what they think and be ready to articulate that to somebody else. And libraries for me are a training ground for that. That in a lot of ways, this conversation is what democracy is about, isn't it? And these are books that aren't coming out of a vacuum. These are the books that we are talking about the most in this country right now. And so if somebody wants to read them, to decide, am I in favor of this or am I not? Where they are going to come is right here, right? I'm not all that worried about somebody walking down the wrong aisle, because fundamentally, I don't think if they pick up Mein Kampf, they're going to start a world war. And I don't think if they pick up Please Mr. Panda, they're going to try to feed a whale a bunch of donuts, even though that is not nutritionally advisable. That fundamentally, I don't think we believe that representations of a thing make the thing happen, or we wouldn't be having the conversation that we're having, right? That ultimately the premise of this conversation is false. And at the end of the day, what matters is that the library is where we have it. Thanks.
Mayor, I'm probably one of the biggest free speech, First Amendment advocates that you will meet. I can quote the ruling opinion in Cohen versus California and many other case laws. And with that being said, our deal wasn't banning books. Our deal was put sexually explicit material in a separate room. This library and this library board has forced the issue of banning books. I don't think truly anyone is about banning books. What we want to do is keep sexually explicit books from a 5 or a 9-year-old just walking up and grabbing it and having a look. Like she said, it might be in the adult section, but kids are allowed to roam throughout the entire library. That makes it available to them. And when I say sexually explicit material, I'm talking about cartoon-style pictures of one kid's head in another kid's lap, or another kid grabbing his junk, talking about whatever. That is sexually explicit material that needs to be kept separate. We keep porn shops separated. We keep titty bars separated. This town has pretty much ran titty bars out of the community, but this library is going to do everything they can to fight to keep a book showing one kid's head in another kid's lap on the shelves of this library. And that's ridiculous. Today, I made a Facebook post on my account, and I posted the meeting time of this meeting, the agenda, and then out next to it, I posted like 6 or 8 pictures from the book Gender Queer that this meeting is referring about, and not even 2 minutes later, boom, 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 Facebook starts removing those pictures one by one for sexually explicit content. Facebook removed those pictures, telling me I couldn't post that content, but this library and this library board so far has fought tooth and nail to keep them on a shelf so that a 5 or 9-year-old can wander around and grab it and have a look and see that material. We can backtrack and go back to the original plan of a separate room and put them all in there and avoid the book banning thing. Nobody's truly about banning books. That's the road y'all have forced us to go down. But since we're going down that road, this board needs to take a hard look at what is in these books. If Facebook ain't going to allow it on their platform, it shouldn't be allowed on the shelves of this library. Thank you.
Board mentioning, I appreciate all of the comments. We are not necessarily going to be discussing one option of keep it or ban it. Just FYI. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Bill Cotman. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I will say I think it's pretty creepy if there's somebody in here videoing everybody that speaks. I would also suggest that Facebook is not the
Once again, First Amendment.
Wrong. And you don't know that it's only adults looking at it. Just like you don't know it's only adults looking at anything else on the internet. The other thing is, I implicitly trust this library board. I trust them to make their decisions that are correct for the community, which is what they're entrusted with. And I resent that so much time is being wasted over this actual book banning, regardless of what you call it. We all see what's happening in the world today. And this is part of it. And it's wrong, and most of us are here to stand against it.
Anybody else? Okay, last call. We will not be returning to this item on our agenda as we have in the past. This will be closing out. Last call. Okay, to reconsider the 3 books. Genderqueer, List I, and the Everybody book. That was submitted in October, and per Amarillo Public Library policies, the committee of 5 staff members were involved in the collection process, read the materials, and it recommended that they remain as is. Correct?
Slight correction, though, it wasn't a library policy as far as staff generated, it is a board approved policy as far as the laws for reconsideration process.
Thank you. Thank you. So the board approved.
How the process works.
Okay. That was in November of last year. Okay, so that committee determined the books should remain as they were. Their decision was appealed, which was what brings us to today. The board approved process prompts the current board members to review the materials and then discuss. So that's where we are for today. So our goal for this discussion is to discuss each of the books. We're going to consider acting upon that discussion by choosing one of 3 potential outcomes. But please do remember, this is one item on our agenda. So the 3 options to consider and discuss. We can maintain the status quo, which is to keep the item where it is currently. Basically do nothing. Change nothing, I should say. The second option is we can move the item within the collection. So we can recategorize it, for example, from young adult to adult, or from children to adult, young adult, whatever. The third option is to remove it from the library's collection completely. So it is not a black and white, yes, no, only decision. So that's our roadmap. We can discuss each book, consider those options. So what I would say is, as we get there, the motion presented needs to be clear which option we are voting on. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, let's start with book number 1, genderqueer.
As a separate room, absolutely not an option.
Unfortunately, at this time, we've moved past the public forum, and so I can't engage in conversation with you, or I'll have to reopen that to the rest of the room, to be fair. So I'm sorry, but I can't do that.
I move to uphold the staff decision on genderqueer, which would be to have the item remain in the collection as is.
Okay.
The library voted to keep one of the books the same. They changed the classification on the other 2. As it stands now, these books are still on the shelves of the public library and still available to children. This issue will be put on the next City Council agenda for April 22nd at 3 p.m. Come out and let the city know how you feel.